You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your PMP certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Leading a team in project management means providing direction, alignment, and commitment while protecting the flow of delivery. Leadership is not merely about issuing instructions. It is about shaping an environment where individuals understand the shared vision and feel confident contributing to it. Effective leadership produces clarity of goals, credible decisions, and psychological safety, ensuring team members can speak openly without fear. This differs from management, which emphasizes coordination and control. The project manager's stance should be that of a servant leader, first removing barriers, enabling growth, and focusing on the needs of the team, yet decisive when constraints, risks, or governance demands require a firm decision. Balancing these modes defines mature leadership. Outcomes of strong leadership extend beyond hitting milestones. They include a shared sense of purpose, where team members know why their work matters, and trust that decisions are made with fairness and consistency. Clear direction prevents duplication or drift, while psychological safety fosters innovation and resilience under stress. The project manager creates an environment where setbacks are treated as learning opportunities rather than failures to be punished. The PMP exam tests this perspective by embedding leadership tasks in situational questions. Often, the correct answer emphasizes enabling and aligning people rather than dictating instructions. Leadership is less about controlling work than inspiring commitment. Leadership differs fundamentally from management. While management focuses on planning, organizing, and tracking execution, leadership is about vision, motivation, and alignment. A project manager must do both, but the emphasis shifts depending on the situation. For example, when a project is in crisis, management tools like schedules and risk registers are critical. But leadership calm presence, ethical grounding, and decisive prioritization guides the team through uncertainty. On the PMP exam, choices that reflect leadership behaviors such as listening, facilitating, and motivating often score higher than those reflecting only management mechanics. The task of leading a team is therefore about integrating the two, always anchored in servant leadership. Leadership begins with inputs that shape decisions. These include the business case that explains why the project exists, the vision and success criteria that define the desired outcome, and the constraints that limit what is possible. A leader also evaluates team composition, skills, availability, and prior history working together. Signals of weak leadership include confusion about goals, rework from unclear expectations, or hidden work that escapes planning. These are cues that alignment has slipped. Stakeholder expectations and political landscapes form another critical input, as external pressures often shape team behavior. On the PMP exam, identifying these signals and acting to restore clarity reflects best practice. Understanding a team's history and skills mix helps the project manager anticipate where strengths and gaps lie. A group with prior successful collaboration may need less emphasis on bonding, while a new or fractured team requires more investment in alignment. Weak leadership often shows itself through a rise in blame culture, where individuals avoid accountability and point fingers. Repeated missed handoffs, ambiguous priorities, and hidden parallel efforts are all symptoms of leadership gaps. The project manager's responsibility is to surface these signals early and realign the team. On exam scenarios, the correct answer often addresses the underlying alignment issue, not just the visible symptom. Stakeholder expectations shape leadership choices as much as team dynamics. Sponsors may press for aggressive timelines, while functional managers protect departmental priorities. The project manager stands at the intersection, interpreting these expectations and translating them into realistic commitments for the team. Leadership here means setting boundaries, negotiating transparently, and protecting the team from conflicting or unrealistic demands. Without this buffer, the team experiences constant thrash, undermining focus and morale. The PMP exam frequently includes questions that test whether the project manager absorbs and clarifies these pressures instead of passing them directly to the team. Shielding the team is a leadership responsibility. Several leadership models guide effective practice. Servant leadership emphasizes enabling others, removing barriers, and growing people. It positions the leader as a steward rather than a commander. Situational leadership suggests that no single style fits all circumstances. Instead, the project manager adjusts based on team competence and commitment. Decision framing involves weighing value, risk, constraints, and ethics when making choices. Another principle, often overlooked, is disagree and commit, acknowledging differences of opinion but uniting behind the chosen path for forward motion. The exam expects candidates to understand these models in plain terms and recognize which is most appropriate for the scenario presented. Servant leadership in practice may look like a project manager ensuring tools are available, removing bureaucratic obstacles, or coaching individuals through challenges. Situational leadership might mean giving new team members more direction while granting experienced ones greater autonomy. Decision framing adds discipline by ensuring every choice is evaluated not just for efficiency, but also for ethics and alignment to value. Disagree and commit prevents paralysis when consensus cannot be achieved, allowing the team to move forward while honoring diverse perspectives. On the exam, correct answers often blend these models, demonstrating adaptability rather than rigid adherence to one style. Leadership is enacted through a process of steps. It begins with establishing vision, outcomes, and decision rights. Vision provides purpose, outcomes define what success looks like, and decision rights clarify who decides what, reducing conflict and duplication. Co-creating working agreements and norms ensures buy-in and ownership. Modeling transparency, openly sharing assumptions, risks, and trade-offs builds credibility. Inspecting outcomes, adapting behaviors, and recognizing wins complete the cycle. This process ensures not only direction, but also momentum. Exam questions often test whether candidates can sequence these steps logically and recognize the role of transparency and adaptation in sustaining effective leadership. Establishing decision rights is often underestimated, but central to leadership. Teams can become paralyzed if no one knows who has final say, or frustrated if authority is overridden without explanation. A project manager clarifies decision rights early, ensuring that disagreements do not stall progress. Transparency further reinforces trust. When assumptions and risks are visible, the team understands not only what was decided but why. Recognizing wins, even small ones, sustains morale and reinforces desired behaviors. The PMP exam rewards candidates who understand that leadership is not a one-time event, but a continuous cycle of vision, alignment, adaptation, and recognition. Artifacts support leadership by making agreements visible and repeatable. A team charter lays out purpose, norms, and values, serving as a touchstone during conflict. RACI-style role definitions clarify responsibilities. Who is responsible? Who is accountable? Who must be consulted? And who should be informed? Decision logs document choices and rationales, reducing relitigation of past debates. Stakeholder maps capture relationships and expectations, while communication plans ensure messages flow to the right people at the right cadence. These artifacts ground leadership in structure. Exam questions often highlight whether candidates use existing artifacts before improvising new processes or escalating. Cadence matters just as much as artifacts. Stand-ups create daily alignment, reviews or demos validate progress with stakeholders, and retrospectives provide opportunities for improvement. One-on-one meetings allow personal coaching, while pulse checks provide anonymous insight into team health. A project manager's leadership is visible in the consistency and intent behind these cadences. Without rhythm, teams drift. With rhythm, they stay focused and resilient. On the exam, candidates should recognize that cadences prevent many leadership challenges by ensuring frequent alignment, transparent feedback, and visible progress. PMI favors answers that emphasize structure and consistency over sporadic or reactive approaches. Leadership cadences also serve as early warning systems. A missed stand-up, declining engagement in retrospectives, or consistently negative pulse check responses may signal deeper issues. Addressing these signals early prevents escalation. By combining artifacts with cadences, the project manager ensures leadership is both documented and lived. Transparency becomes cultural, and trust is reinforced. The PMP exam often frames scenarios where the best action is to return to cadences or artifacts, rather than improvising a new approach under stress. Effective leadership is less about dramatic interventions and more about sustaining clear, consistent practices that build resilience. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Leading in agile contexts emphasizes empowerment and transparency. Agile project managers, often in servant leader roles, protect the team's cadence by ensuring ceremonies like daily stand-ups, sprint reviews, and retrospectives run smoothly. Empowering product ownership means enabling the product owner to prioritize backlog items while shielding the team from constant scope thrash. Conflict or impediments must be surfaced quickly, and the project manager helps remove them so value continues to flow. In predictive projects, leadership requires protecting baseline integrity, ensuring stage gates are respected, and coordinating across functions. Hybrid environments demand balancing both, sustaining iterative delivery while meeting governance checkpoints. The PMP exam expects you to know how leadership adapts across these modes. Predictive leadership often centers on maintaining alignment with baselines and ensuring progress is tracked formally. At each stage gate, leaders must ensure that deliverables meet predefined exit criteria before moving forward. Coordination across departments or vendors is critical, and a strong leader communicates expectations consistently. Agile leadership instead emphasizes adaptability, using backlog reprioritization and iterative feedback to keep the project aligned with evolving needs. Hybrid models blend these strengths, protecting agility while honoring required governance. On the exam, the best answers usually involve tailoring leadership style to the delivery approach, showing you understand that one size does not fit all. Communication is the glue that holds these leadership styles together. In predictive projects, decisions and updates must be documented in baselines, change logs, and formal reports. In agile contexts, updates are reflected in visible artifacts like task boards, burn-down charts, or product backlogs. Hybrid approaches require careful communication across both sets of expectations, ensuring agile progress is reported in portfolio terms that governance bodies understand. The PMP exam often highlights this nuance. The correct answer emphasizes aligning communication with the artifact expectations of the delivery mode rather than assuming informal updates suffice. Leadership means speaking the right language to the right audience. Stakeholder alignment is a crucial responsibility for team leaders. Sponsors often have high expectations, and external stakeholders may introduce competing demands. A strong leader ensures sponsor expectations align with the team's actual capacity and constraints. This may involve negotiating trade-offs among scope, time, and quality, always with transparency. Protecting the team from constant changes, sometimes called thrash, requires channeling new requests through proper change policies. Leadership also involves knowing when to escalate, but escalation is the last step, used only after impact analysis is complete. On the exam, PMI favors answers where project managers protect the team while ensuring sponsors remain fully informed. Negotiating trade-offs visibly is central to stakeholder leadership. When time is fixed, scope or quality may need adjustment, and the project manager facilitates that discussion openly. Concealing constraints or silently absorbing new demands leads to burnout and missed commitments. Protecting the team means ensuring changes are visible, discussed, and agreed upon with decision-makers. Leadership requires courage to say, "We cannot add this without shifting something else." The exam often embeds such trade-offs and scenario questions, and the best answer typically involves surfacing constraints transparently, not shouldering them silently. Strong leaders balance advocacy for their team with alignment to business priorities. Protecting the team from thrash goes beyond saying no to every change. It means channeling changes through structured processes so the project retains order and flow. For example, an agile project manager guides stakeholders to reprioritize backlog items instead of piling new demands into an ongoing sprint. A predictive project manager directs requests through change control boards, ensuring impact analysis precedes approval. Escalation to sponsors or governance bodies happens only when negotiation and facilitation cannot resolve the conflict. Exam scenarios frequently include distractors that escalate prematurely. The correct answer often reflects PMI's principle: resolve at the lowest possible level with structured tools before moving upward. Consider a scenario where two vice presidents provide conflicting priorities, and the team stalls because they do not know which to follow. Options might include trying to satisfy both, pushing back without data, escalating immediately, or facilitating a trade-off discussion. The best action is to facilitate that discussion, using project constraints such as schedule, budget, or resources to guide decisions. By recording the outcome and adjusting the plan, the project manager demonstrates leadership that is both transparent and aligned. On the exam, the correct option emphasizes facilitation with data. In agile settings, this translates into backlog prioritization with stakeholders present. In predictive projects, similar scenarios unfold but use different tools. Instead of backlog prioritization, the project manager might reference the project scope statement, baseline, or requirements traceability matrix. The principle remains the same: guide stakeholders to a visible, structured decision that balances constraints, rather than making promises on the team's behalf. Escalation is reserved for when stakeholders themselves cannot reach agreement, but even then, the project manager ensures impact analysis is ready before escalation occurs. The PMP exam consistently rewards answers where facilitation and artifact use precede escalation or unilateral promises. One of the most common exam pitfalls is defaulting to command and control behaviors without context. Authoritarian direction may seem decisive, but often undermines psychological safety and stakeholder buy-in. Another pitfall is escalating immediately rather than attempting stakeholder alignment. Escalation is a valid tool, but only after facilitation has failed. Making unilateral scope or schedule promises on behalf of the team is another frequent trap, as it strips ownership from the people doing the work and often creates unrealistic commitments. Finally, skipping working agreements or decision logs leads to ambiguity and recurring conflict. Exam questions often include these pitfalls as distractors. Command and control leadership is especially tempting under stress, but PMI emphasizes facilitation and empowerment over unilateral decision-making. A project manager who dictates without explanation may secure short-term compliance but sacrifices long-term trust. The exam reflects this reality by offering answers that seem efficient but violate principles of team empowerment or stakeholder engagement. The best answers tend to involve structured alignment, transparent communication, and artifact use. Remember, leadership is not about exerting maximum authority. It is about guiding the project ecosystem to produce value sustainably. This philosophy underpins the people domain's leadership tasks throughout the exam. Making unilateral promises to stakeholders is one of the fastest ways to erode trust. Stakeholders may pressure project managers for immediate commitments, but agreeing without consulting the team undermines both credibility and feasibility. Strong leadership involves acknowledging stakeholder needs, promising analysis, and then returning with informed options. On the exam, the distractor answer often involves agreeing immediately, while the correct answer emphasizes analyze and align first. Working agreements and decision logs support this by providing visible evidence of how decisions are made. PMI values leaders who are deliberate, not hasty, in commitments. A practical playbook for leading teams simplifies these concepts. Step 1. Clarify vision and constraints early so the team knows the destination and boundaries. Step 2. Share decision rights transparently, ensuring everyone understands who decides what. Step 3. Build norms that support collaboration, remove blockers to maintain flow, and recognize contributions regularly to sustain morale. Step 4. Communicate trade-offs early, documenting them visibly in artifacts like decision logs. These steps protect both outcomes and relationships. On the exam, answers that echo this playbook: clarity, transparency, facilitation, and recognition often represent the most PMI-aligned approach. Protecting ethics is the final pillar of leadership. Responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty must anchor every action. Responsibility means owning decisions and outcomes rather than shifting blame. Respect means valuing diverse perspectives and treating all stakeholders equitably. Fairness requires transparency in decisions, avoiding favoritism or hidden deals. Honesty involves presenting progress and risks without distortion, even under pressure. These values are not abstract ideals. They are practical guides in moments of conflict or stress. The PMP exam consistently tests whether you uphold ethics, often embedding them in situational questions where attempting shortcut would compromise integrity. In conclusion, leading a team is about direction, alignment, and protection of delivery flow. A project manager blends servant leadership with decisiveness, adapting style to context while anchoring in ethics. Inputs like vision, constraints, and stakeholder expectations inform leadership choices. Principles such as servant and situational leadership guide behaviors, while artifacts and cadences provide structure. Whether in agile, predictive, or hybrid environments, leadership is expressed through facilitation, transparency, and accountability. The PMP exam expects candidates to demonstrate this integrated understanding, showing not just knowledge of leadership models but the ability to apply them in nuanced, real-world scenarios. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.